The package screamed as it tumbled through the cargo bay. Daniel Reed watched 3 alien workers scatter in different directions while his storage container bounced across the metal floor. Inside that container was Brutus, and judging by the angry chittering sounds, the honey badger was not happy about the rough handling. "Careful with that," Daniel shouted, running toward the box. A tall Tessarian with 4 arms held up 2 hands in what might have been an apology. "We did not expect it to move like that. What is inside?" "My research partner." The Tessarian's face wrinkled in confusion. His translator device clicked twice before speaking. "Your partner is very small and loud." Daniel knelt beside the container and entered the unlock code. The lid hissed open. Brutus poked his flat head out, sniffed the air, then climbed onto Daniel's shoulder like this was the most natural thing in the galaxy. The honey badger's claws dug into the fabric of his jacket as those dark eyes surveyed the cargo bay with obvious suspicion. The 3 alien workers took several steps backward. "That is your research partner?" The Tessarian sounded doubtful. "This is Brutus. He's a honey badger from Earth." "It looks angry." "He usually looks like that," Daniel said. "It's just his face." The cargo bay doors opened, and a woman in a crisp blue uniform walked in. Her badge identified her as Station Commander Valen, though Daniel had already memorized her file during the 3-month journey here. She was Tessarian like the cargo worker, but her 4 arms moved with military precision instead of nervous energy. "Dr. Reed, welcome to Research Station Osiris." Her voice was formal but not unfriendly. "I see you've brought your specimen." "Brutus isn't a specimen. He's part of my team." Commander Valen's eyes narrowed as she looked at the honey badger. Brutus stared back without blinking. The silence stretched for several seconds before she spoke again. "I read your file. You study Earth predator behavior and intelligence. But Dr. Reed, this station houses 47 species from across the Galactic Union. Many of them have never seen an Earth creature. Some might find your companion threatening. Brutus won't hurt anyone unless they hurt him first." "That is exactly what concerns me." Valen gestured toward the corridor. "Come, I will show you to your quarters. Your animal needs to stay in proper containment." "When you are not conducting research." Daniel wanted to argue but decided against it. He was the new arrival here, and Valen was clearly someone who valued rules and order. He followed her through the winding passages of the station while Brutus rode on his shoulder, occasionally sniffing at passing crew members who gave them a wide berth. The research station was bigger than Daniel expected. Corridors branched in multiple directions, each one marked with symbols from different languages. Through windows along the outer hull, he could see stars stretching into infinity. Somewhere out there, beyond the edge of neutral space, the Kryn Collective was expanding its territory. Everyone knew it. Nobody wanted to talk about it. "Your quarters are in Section 7, Valen said. "You will share laboratory space with Dr. Harris from Earth and Dr. Quillen from Andros 4. They study communication patterns between species." "Will Brutus be allowed in the lab?" "In a proper enclosure, yes. But Dr. Reed, I must be clear. If your creature causes any incidents, any injuries to crew members, I will have it removed from this station immediately." Brutus made a soft huffing sound. Daniel scratched behind the honey badger's ears, feeling the familiar coarse fur under his fingers. "Understood, Commander." They reached his quarters, a small room with a bed, desk, and a wall screen showing station news. Valen handed him a data pad with orientation materials and access codes. "Dinner is served in the main hall at 1900 hours. I suggest you attend. It helps to know your fellow researchers." She paused at the doorway. "And Dr. Reed, keep that thing on a leash." "Brutus doesn't do leashes." Valen's expression suggested she thought that was a mistake, but she left without further comment. Daniel set up Brutus's sleeping area in the corner, a padded box with familiar blankets from Earth. The honey badger explored every centimeter of the room, sniffing corners and scratching at walls. This was his routine in new places, mapping territory and checking for threats. "It's going to be fine," Daniel said, more to himself than to Brutus. "They just don't understand you yet." Hours later, Daniel made his way to the dining hall. The room buzzed with conversation in a dozen different languages, all filtered through translator devices into something resembling coherent speech. He spotted Harris, the other human researcher, sitting with a group of Quilnari whose skin shifted through different colors as they talked. "Fresh meat," Harris called out, waving Daniel over. "How was the trip?" "Long, where's the food?" Harris pointed to a serving area where crew members lined up in front of dispensers. "Fair warning, the stuff that's safe for humans tastes like cardboard. I've been living on nutrition bars I brought from Earth." Daniel grabbed a tray and sat down. The Quilnari next to him leaned over, eye stalks bending in his direction. "You are the one with the dangerous pet, yes?" Word traveled fast on a research station. "Brutus isn't dangerous, he's just protective." "Protective of what?" "Me, his family, anyone he decides to trust." The Quilnari's skin flashed yellow, which Daniel's data pad translated as amusement. "An animal that chooses who to protect? That is unusual." Before Daniel could respond, alarms shrieked through the dining hall. Red lights flashed along every wall. Commander Valen's voice boomed through the speakers. "All personnel, this is not a drill. Kryn warships have entered our sector. They are demanding we surrender the station and accept their territorial claim. Battle stations. Now." The dining hall erupted into chaos. Daniel ran. Explosions rattled the station's outer hull. Daniel felt the vibrations through his boots as he sprinted down the corridor toward his quarters. Around him, researchers and technicians scattered in every direction. Some ran toward emergency stations. Others just ran. A Tessarian security officer grabbed his arm. "Non-combat personnel, Section 9, move." "I need to get to my room first." "No time. The Kryn are boarding through airlocks 3 and 7. Daniel pulled free and kept running. Section 7 was close. Brutus was alone in those quarters, and there was no chance Daniel was leaving him behind. The lights flickered as another explosion hit somewhere deeper in the station. Emergency systems kicked in, bathing the corridors in red light that made everything look like blood. His door was still sealed. Daniel punched in his code and practically fell inside. Brutus stood in the center of the room, fur bristled, making that low, growling sound that meant he was ready to fight something. "Come on, buddy, we need to move." He reached for the honey badger, but Brutus dodged his hand and ran toward the door. Another explosion made the floor. Tilt, Daniel stumbled, caught himself against the wall and looked up to see his door sliding open. Brutus was already gone. "No, Brutus, come back." Daniel chased after him, but honey badgers were faster than most people expected. Brutus disappeared around a corner, heading away from the safe zones and toward the sound of weapons fire. The corridor ahead showed scorch marks on the walls. Bodies lay motionless on the floor, both station security and Kryn soldiers in their distinctive black armor. The Kryn were massive creatures, easily 7 feet tall with thick scales covering their bodies. They carried weapons that fired bolts of superheated plasma. One of them stood over a wounded Tessarian guard, raising its weapon for a final shot. Daniel pressed himself against the wall, trying to stay invisible. He was a researcher, not a soldier. His only weapon was a data pad and whatever knowledge he carried in his head. But he could not look away as the Kryn aimed at the injured guard. The guard's eyes went wide, not looking at the Kryn but at something behind it. Brutus hit the soldier from the side, claws finding gaps in the armor joints. The Kryn roared and spun around, trying to grab the small creature, but Brutus was already moving. He went for the throat, the weak spot Daniel had studied in dozens of predator species. The Kryn staggered backward, weapons fire going wild, burning holes in the ceiling. Then Brutus was gone, disappearing into a ventilation shaft before the soldier could recover. Daniel ran to the injured guard. "Are you okay?" The Tessarian clutched his wounded leg, all 4 arms shaking. "What was that thing?" That was Brutus. Can you walk? I think so. Daniel helped him up and they limped toward the safe zone. Behind them, more Kryn soldiers poured into the corridor. Weapons fire lit up the space like lightning. Daniel did not look back. He focused on getting the guard to safety, one painful step at a time. Section 9 was chaos. Hundreds of crew members packed into a reinforced area designed to hold maybe 50. Commander Valen stood on a raised platform, coordinating with security teams through a communication headset. Her four arms worked multiple control panels at once. "Seal Bulkhead 7, she shouted. "Reroute power to defensive shields." Daniel left the injured guard with medical personnel and pushed through the crowd toward Valen. She saw him coming and her face twisted into anger. "Dr. Reed, where is your animal?" "He ran off during the attack. He's somewhere in the station." "You lost control of a dangerous predator during a military invasion." Valen's voice could have cut steel. "If that creature attacks anyone, human or Kryn, the responsibility falls on you. Brutus won't attack random people. He only goes after threats." "How can you possibly know that?" Before Daniel could answer, a security officer interrupted. "Commander, we have reports from multiple sections. Kryn soldiers are being attacked by something small and fast. 3 casualties so far, all enemy combatants. Whatever it is, it's only targeting the Kryn." Valen looked at Daniel. "Your honey badger." "Probably. It is hunting them." "Brutus knows who the bad guys are," Daniel said. "Honey badgers are smart. They remember who threatens them and who treats them well. He saw those Kryn soldiers attacking station crew. Now he's fighting back." Another officer spoke up, reading from a data screen. "Section 12, 1 Kryn soldier found unconscious. His communicator is destroyed. Section 8, 2 soldiers wounded and retreating. Section 5, equipment sabotage. Command, I think the animal is doing this on purpose." The crowd around them had gone quiet, listening. A culinary researcher spoke up, her skin flashing colors of confusion. "An Earth animal understands military tactics." "Honey badgers are problem solvers," Daniel explained. "In the wild, they raid beehives protected by thousands of stinging insects. They dig through concrete, they fight off lions, and they never ever forget who their enemies are." Valen stared at him for a long moment. "Your creature is fighting an organized military force by itself. I need to find him before he gets hurt." "Negative, you stay here where it is safe." "Commander, with respect, Brutus is out there protecting the station. The least I can do is make sure he survives it." More reports came in. Kryn forces were spreading through the station, but their advance was slowing. Soldiers kept disappearing or calling for medical evacuation. Some refused to enter certain sections, claiming they heard something in the walls. Valen made a decision. "Fine, take a security team with you, find your honey badger. And Dr. Reed, if that animal is as smart as you claim, maybe it can help us win this fight." Daniel grabbed a communicator and joined 3 security officers at the exit. The Tessarian guard he had helped earlier insisted on coming too, despite his injured leg. "That creature saved my life," the guard said. "I owe it protection." They stepped out of the safe zone and into a war. The security footage told a strange story. Daniel watched the screens in the command station while his escort team kept watch at the door. On monitor after monitor, Brutus appeared like a ghost. The honey badger moved through ventilation shafts, crawled along ceiling support beams, and somehow knew exactly where Kryn soldiers would be. "There," Daniel pointed at screen 7. "He just disabled their communication relay." The Tessarian guard, whose name was Rennick, leaned closer. "How does it know which equipment to destroy?" "He watches. Honey badgers observe patterns before they attack. Brutus must have figured out that the Kryn soldiers talk through those devices." On screen 12, Brutus dropped from a ceiling vent onto a Kryn soldier's helmet. The soldier spun in circles, trying to grab the creature, while his companions fired wildly. Brutus jumped clear at the last second, and the Kryn ended up shooting each other. Then the honey badger was gone again, vanishing into the shadows. "Incredible," one of the other security officers whispered. "It fights like a trained commando." "He is not trained for this," Daniel said. "Brutus is just doing what honey badgers do. He identified a threat to his family, and now he is removing that threat." The command station door opened. Commander Valen walked in, her uniform scorched from a close encounter with plasma fire. She looked exhausted but alert. "Report." Rennick stood straighter despite his injury. "Commander, the animal has single-handedly delayed the Kryn advance in 3 major sections. Enemy forces are requesting backup because they claim something is hunting them." Valen studied the screens. "Where is it now?" "Section 15, near the environmental controls," Daniel said. "But Commander, I think Brutus is trying to tell us something." "Explain." Daniel pulled up a station map and highlighted several locations. "Every place Brutus attacks, he leaves marks, claw scratches on specific wall panels, always in sets of 3. I thought it was random at first, but look at the pattern." The marks formed a trail leading toward the station's central hub. "He is mapping Kryn positions for us," Valen said slowly. "Your creature is providing intelligence. Honey badgers mark their territory. Brutus is marking enemy territory so we know where they are." One of the security officers checked his scanner. "Commander, if this map is accurate, the Kryn are concentrating forces near the primary power grid. If they take that, they control life support for the entire station." Valen's expression hardened. "We need to reinforce that position immediately." "Wait," Daniel said. "Look at this." He rewound footage from Section 15. Brutus appeared on camera, looked directly at the lens, then ran down a specific corridor. He stopped, looked back at the camera again, then continued running. "He wants us to follow him." "Dr. Reed, that is a significant assumption." "Commander, honey badgers are smart enough to use tools. They understand cause and effect. Brutus knows these cameras exist. He is looking at them deliberately." Rennick spoke up. "Permission to take a team and follow the animal's trail, Commander." Valen considered this for 3 long seconds. "Granted. Take 6 officers. Dr. Reed goes with you. If that creature is leading us into a trap, I want someone there who understands it." Daniel grabbed a portable scanner and joined the team. They moved through the damaged corridors, following the path Brutus had taken on camera. The station groaned around them, damaged systems struggling to maintain pressure and oxygen levels. Bodies lay scattered in some sections, both Kryn and station crew. Daniel tried not to look at them too closely. "Contact ahead," one officer whispered. Through a doorway, Daniel saw 4 Kryn soldiers setting up some kind of device near a power junction. It looked like a bomb or maybe a control override. Either way, it was bad news. Before anyone could plan an attack, Brutus appeared. The honey badger dropped from an overhead pipe and landed on the device itself. His claws started pulling at wires with surprising precision. "He is disarming it," Daniel whispered. The Kryn soldiers noticed too late. They rushed toward Brutus, but the security team opened fire first. The fight was brief and loud. When it ended, 3 Kryn were down and 1 was retreating. Brutus sat on top of the disabled device, cleaning his face with 1 paw like nothing interesting had happened. Daniel approached slowly. "Good boy, Brutus." The honey badger chittered and jumped onto Daniel's shoulder. His fur was matted with things Daniel preferred not to identify. There was a small cut on his back leg, but he did not seem bothered by it. Rennick examined the device. This would have overloaded the power grid. The explosion would have killed everyone in 5 sections. "Brutus knew," Daniel said. "He somehow knew this was important." More security teams arrived, securing the area. Commander Valen appeared shortly after, surveying the disabled bomb with professional interest. "Your honey badger just saved approximately 300 lives, Dr. Reed." "He is not my honey badger, he is my partner." Valen actually smiled, which Daniel suspected was rare. "I stand corrected. Can your partner help us locate the Kryn Command Center? If we can disable their leadership, the invasion force will fall apart. Daniel scratched behind Brutus's ears. What do you think, buddy? Want to go find the boss? Brutus made a sound that was probably agreement, or maybe he was just annoyed. With honey badgers, it was hard to tell the difference. They gathered in a planning room with whatever officers could be spared from defensive positions. Valen brought up a three-dimensional map of the station. Intelligence suggests the Kryn commander is here in Section 3. It is heavily fortified. Direct assault would cost too many lives. Then we do not assault directly, Daniel said. We let Brutus scout ahead. He can go places we cannot. And if he gets captured or killed? Daniel looked at the honey badger on his shoulder. Brutus stared back with those dark, fearless eyes. He will not get captured, and killing him, the Kryn can try, but honey badgers do not die easy. Valen gave orders. Within minutes, they had a plan. It was risky and probably insane, but it was better than surrendering the station to an invasion force. Daniel checked his equipment one last time. Ready, Rennick asked. No, but we go anyway. Section 3 was a fortress. The Kryn had welded blast doors shut and set up automated weapons at every intersection. Daniel and the assault team crouched in a maintenance tunnel 2 levels below, listening to enemy patrols stomping overhead. Brutus sat perfectly still on Daniel's lap, ears twitching at every sound. I count 15 hostiles between us and the command center, Rennick whispered, checking his scanner. Plus whatever forces are inside with there. Commanders. Valen spoke through their communicators. Strike team, you have 15 minutes. After that, Kryn reinforcements arrive from their ships. We cannot hold them off indefinitely. Understood, Commander. Rennick looked at Daniel. Send your partner. Daniel set Brutus on the floor and pointed toward a ventilation shaft. You know what to do. Find the boss, make noise, we will follow. The honey badger tilted his head, studying Daniel's face. For a moment, Daniel worried that Brutus would refuse or simply not understand. Then the animal turned and squeezed into the vent, disappearing into darkness. They waited. Seconds turned into minutes. Daniel's hands were sweating inside his gloves. The other team members checked their weapons repeatedly, a nervous habit that soldiers seem to share across every species. Then the screaming started. It came from above them, muffled by metal floors but unmistakable. Kryn soldiers shouting in their harsh language. Weapons fire, something heavy crashing to the ground. More shouting this time with an edge of panic. That is our signal, Rennick said. Move. The team rushed up a ladder and through an access hatch. They emerged into chaos. Kryn soldiers were firing at shadows, at ventilation covers, at anything that moved. One soldier lay on the ground, clutching his face. Another was trying to remove Brutus from his leg while his companions debated whether shooting would hit the honey badger or their fellow soldier. The security team did not debate. They opened fire with precision, taking down targets before the Kryn could organize a response. Daniel stayed low, watching for Brutus, trying to track the small, furry shape in all the madness. There, Brutus ran along the wall, defying gravity in that way honey badgers somehow managed. He jumped from the wall to a Kryn soldier's back, used the soldier as a launching platform, and disappeared through another vent opening. He is heading deeper into Section 3, Daniel said into his communicator. Following now. They advanced through corridors littered with unconscious or wounded Kryn. Some had claw marks on their armor. Others looked like they had been outsmarted, lured into positions where they blocked each other's line of fire. Daniel recognized the tactics. Brutus was not just attacking randomly. He was thinking several moves ahead, using the environment and enemy numbers against them. Your creature is terrifying, one of the security officers said. He is from Earth, Daniel replied. Everything from Earth is terrifying when it needs to be. They reached the command center entrance. 2 massive Kryn guards stood at the door, each holding weapons that looked like they could punch holes through ship hulls. Behind them, Daniel could see through a window into a large room filled with tactical displays and communication equipment. And there, in the center, was the Kryn commander. He was bigger than the other soldiers, with scars crossing his scaled face and decorative armor that marked him as high-ranking. He was shouting orders into a communicator while studying tactical maps of the station. "We need a distraction," Rennick said. "Something to draw those guards away from the door." As if on cue, Brutus appeared on one of the tactical displays inside the command center. The honey badger was somehow inside the room, perched on top of a computer bank, staring directly at the Kryn commander. The commander noticed. He turned, saw Brutus, and his expression shifted from anger to something like confusion. He said something in the Kryn language. His translator device rendered it as, "How did such a small creature cause so much damage?" Brutus chittered and started pulling wires from the computer. The commander roared and drew a sidearm. He aimed at Brutus and fired. The shot missed as Brutus jumped clear, but it destroyed one of the tactical displays in a shower of sparks. The honey badger landed on another computer bank and started shredding important-looking cables with his teeth. The two guards abandoned their posts and rushed into the room to protect their equipment. Rennick saw the opening and moved. His team breached the door while the guards were distracted. The fight inside was fast and brutal. Daniel stayed near the entrance, trying to spot Brutus in all the chaos. The Kryn commander was not like the regular soldiers. He moved with practiced skill, blocking attacks and striking back with controlled violence. He knocked one security officer across the room and grappled with Rennick, 4 arms against 4 arms in a contest of strength. "Enough," the commander's voice boomed through his translator. "This station belongs to the Kryn Collective. You have lost. Surrender and I will spare the civilians." "We do not negotiate with invaders," Rennick grunted, struggling against the commander's grip. The commander smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Then you die." He started to squeeze. Rennick's armor creaked under the pressure. Daniel saw his friend's face turning colors that were probably bad. He looked around desperately for something, anything that could help. Brutus solved the problem in his own way. The honey badger jumped from a computer bank onto the commander's head. Claws found the gaps in ceremonial armor. Teeth found exposed flesh. The commander screamed and released Rennick, reaching up to grab the creature on his skull. Big mistake. Brutus knew all about grabbing. He dodged the commander's hands and bit down harder. The Kryn commander staggered backward, crashed into his tactical display, and fell to the floor. Brutus jumped clear and positioned himself between the fallen commander and Daniel, fur bristled, ready for round 2. The commander did not get up. He lay there breathing hard, one hand pressed to his wounded head. His troops had all been subdued or surrendered. The command center was secure. Rennick struggled to his feet, all 4 arms shaking. "I believe I owe your partner my life, again." The Kryn commander pushed himself to his knees, dark blood seeping between his fingers where Brutus had struck. He looked at Daniel with something between hatred and genuine confusion. "Your beast," he said through labored breaths. "I have fought trained warriors from a dozen worlds. None fight like that thing. What is it?" "A honey badger," Daniel said, "from Earth." "Impossible. My intelligence files show Earth animals are simple, unintelligent. They follow instinct, not strategy." "Your intelligence files are wrong." The commander's translator clicked several times as he spoke rapidly in his own language. Finally, it settled on words. "I call this creature a mindless beast. I was wrong. It has more tactical awareness than half my soldiers. How?" Daniel knelt down, keeping eye contact with the massive alien. "Brutus is not mindless. He is loyal. There is a difference. Humans do not keep animals as property. We form partnerships, friendships, families." "Families," the commander tested the word. "You consider this creature family." "I do, and Brutus considers me family. That is why he fights. Not because I ordered him to, because he chose to protect the people who treat him with kindness." Brutus sat nearby, watching the exchange with those dark, intelligent eyes. His fur was matted with blood, some of it probably his own. Daniel could see a nasty gash along his shoulder that would need medical attention soon. The commander studied the honey badger for a long moment. Choice, you claim it can choose. All intelligent beings can choose. Then it chose to humiliate the Kryn collective. The commander laughed, a bitter sound. A creature smaller than my hand defeated our invasion. The shame will follow me forever. Outside the command center, the sounds of fighting continued. Plasma weapons discharged in rapid bursts. Someone was shouting coordinates through the communication systems. The station shuddered as something exploded in the outer sections. Rennick worked at one of the undamaged computer terminals. Commander Valen, we have control of the Kryn command center, requesting instructions. Valen's voice came through scratchy with static. Can you access their communication network? We need to stop their reinforcements from landing. Working on it. The Kryn commander spoke up. You will fail. My ships have override codes. Even from here you cannot stop them. Then give us the codes, Daniel said. Why would I do that? Because you are beaten. Your invasion failed, but you can still save lives, both your soldiers and ours. Daniel gestured toward Brutus. He could have killed you just now. Did you notice? He had the perfect opportunity. Instead, he disabled you and moved to defend. Even in a fight, Brutus knows the difference between neutralizing a threat and unnecessary killing. You could learn from that. The commander was quiet for several seconds. The fighting outside grew more intense. Daniel heard someone scream, though he could not tell which side it came from. Finally, the commander reached into his damaged armor and pulled out a small device. The override codes are here, but understand this, human. I am not surrendering because of your words. I am surrendering because I respect what your creature did today. It showed honor in battle. That is something I can acknowledge even in defeat. He handed the device to Rennick. Rennick hesitated. This could be a trap. It is not, the commander said. I am many things, but I am not a liar. Your honey badger earned this victory. Let that be the story told in Kryn history. We were not defeated by superior weapons or numbers. We were defeated by a creature that chose to protect its family. Rennick took the device and plugged it into the command terminal. Code scrolled across the screen. A moment later, Valen's voice erupted through the speakers. Strike team, the Kryn ships are powering down. Their landing craft are returning to the fleet. What did you do? Their commander surrendered, Rennick reported. The invasion is over. Cheering echoed through the communication channels. Daniel let out a breath he did not realize he had been holding. Brutus made a soft, chittering sound and climbed onto his shoulder, favoring his injured leg. Good boy, Daniel whispered. You did good. The honey badger started cleaning his face, apparently unconcerned that he had just stopped an interstellar invasion. Then the explosion happened. It came from somewhere deep in the station, a massive detonation that shook the floor and sent everyone sprawling. Alarms shrieked. Emergency lights flickered on. Through the command center windows, Daniel saw fire spreading through one of the lower sections. What was that? Rennick shouted. A security officer checked his scanner, face going pale. One of the bombs the Kryn planted earlier, it must have been on a timer. Section 18 is venting atmosphere. There are still people down there. Daniel was already moving before his brain caught up with the decision. He ran for the door, Brutus bouncing on his shoulder. Behind him, Rennick called out, but Daniel did not stop. Section 18 housed the civilian shelters, families, children, people who had trusted the station to keep them safe. The corridors were filled with smoke. Emergency doors were slamming shut, trying to contain the breach. Daniel pulled his jacket over his face and pushed forward. His communicator was screaming warnings about oxygen levels and structural integrity. Through the smoke, he saw them, a group of civilians trapped behind a jammed emergency door. They were pounding on the metal, screaming for help. On the other side of that door, the corridor was venting into space. They had maybe minutes before the section they were in lost pressure too. Daniel grabbed the door controls, but they were fried. Brutus jumped down from his shoulder and started examining the door frame, sniffing at the mechanism. "I do not suppose you know how to open doors," Daniel said. Brutus stuck his claws into a small gap where the door had jammed. He pulled with surprising strength, muscles bunching under his fur. The door shifted slightly, just a centimeter, but it was movement. Daniel added his strength to the effort. Then Rennick arrived with two other officers. Together they heaved against the door. Metal groaned. The civilians on the other side pushed too. Slowly, impossibly, the door began to open. Brutus squeaked and Daniel looked down. The honey badger's shoulder was bleeding worse now, the gash reopened from the effort. But Brutus kept pulling, claws dug into metal, refusing to quit. The door opened enough for people to squeeze through. Civilians poured out, coughing and crying. Daniel counted them as they passed: 12, 15, 20. Then the section behind them explosively decompressed. The force hit like a wall, sending Daniel flying backward. Daniel woke up in the medical bay 3 days later. His head felt like someone had used it for target practice, and his left arm was wrapped in something that looked like glowing bandages. A Quilnari doctor noticed him stirring and rushed over, skin flashing concerned colors. "Dr. Reed, please remain still. You suffered a severe concussion and decompression injuries." "Brutus," Daniel croaked. "Where is he?" The doctor's skin shifted to a gentler shade. "The honey badger is alive. He is in critical care 2 sections over. Would you like me to arrange transport?" "Yes, now." They moved him on a floating gurney, too weak to walk on his own. The medical bay was overflowing with injured crew members from the battle. Daniel saw faces he recognized, researchers and technicians who had been strangers just days ago. Now they were survivors together. Critical care was quieter. Specialized equipment hummed and beeped, monitoring patients too injured for the regular ward. The doctor guided Daniel to a small room where Brutus lay on a modified medical bed, wrapped in bandages that covered most of his small body. Tubes and monitors connected to him in ways that looked painful. Daniel's chest tightened. Is he going to make it? The damage was extensive, the doctor said. Multiple lacerations, severe muscle trauma to his shoulder, partial lung collapse from the decompression. But Dr. Reed, your honey badger is remarkably resilient. Our medical team includes specialists from 6 different species, and all of them agree they have never seen an Earth creature fight so hard to survive. Can I touch him? Carefully. Daniel reached out and gently stroked Brutus's head, avoiding the bandaged areas. The honey badger's eyes opened slightly. He made a weak chittering sound and tried to move toward Daniel's hand. Easy, buddy, you need to rest. Commander Valen appeared in the doorway, looking as exhausted as Daniel felt. Her uniform was clean now, but Daniel could see bandages under the fabric on 2 of her arms. Dr. Reed, I am glad you are awake. What is the damage report? 17 dead, 43 injured. The Kryn lost 30 soldiers. Their fleet withdrew to their own territory after the surrender. Valen moved closer to Brutus's bed. The Galactic Union is sending support ships. We will have full repairs within 2 months. And the Kryn commander? He is being held for war crimes tribunal, but he has been cooperative. He gave detailed testimony about the Kryn Collective's expansionist plans. Because of the intelligence he provided, 3 other stations were able to prevent similar invasions. Valen paused. He asked to speak with you. He wants to see the honey badger one more time. Daniel looked down at Brutus, still fighting to recover. Why? He said something about respect and learning the difference between strength and power. 2 days later, when Brutus was stable enough to be moved, Daniel brought him to the detention area in a specialized carrier. The Kryn commander was held in a reinforced cell, his injuries treated but his freedom gone. He stood when they arrived, moving carefully around his wounded head. The creature lives, the commander said. This is good. His name is Brutus. Brutus? The commander repeated the name carefully. In Kryn culture we have a concept, Thranka. It means a warrior who fights not for glory or conquest, but to protect what they love. We thought only Kryn could understand this concept, but your Brutus showed me otherwise. Daniel opened the carrier. Brutus limped out, still bandaged but alert. He looked at the Kryn commander with no fear, only cautious assessment. I underestimated him, the commander continued. I underestimated Earth creatures. I thought size and weapons and technology were what mattered in war. But your honey badger taught me the truth. What matters is why you fight. He fought because you threatened his family. Yes, and I fought because my leaders ordered it. Which of us showed true strength? The commander lowered himself to one knee, putting his eyes level with Brutus. I offer you my respect, small warrior. You defeated me with honor. That is not a thing I will forget. Brutus tilted his head, studying the massive alien kneeling before him. Then, in a gesture that surprised everyone, the honey badger walked forward and touched his nose to the commander's outstretched hand. Just for a moment. Then he turned and limped back to Daniel. The commander remained kneeling, staring at his hand. When he spoke, his voice was quieter. He could have attacked me just now. I am restrained, vulnerable, but he chose not to. Even after everything, he chooses mercy over revenge. Daniel picked up Brutus carefully. Honey badgers remember who their enemies are, but they also recognize when a fight is over. 1 week later, the Galactic Union ships arrived with supplies, personnel, and a delegation of officials who wanted to understand how Research Station Osiris had survived a Kryn invasion. Commander Valen gave her report, highlighting the actions of her security teams, the cooperation between species, and the strategic advantage of the captured Kryn codes. She also filed a special commendation. The ceremony was small, held in the repaired dining hall where the invasion had begun. Crew members gathered, some still bearing injuries, but all determined to attend. Daniel stood at the front with Brutus, who wore a special harness designed by the station's engineer to support his healing shoulder. A Galactic Union admiral, a dignified Androsian with silver scales, read from a formal document. For exceptional courage in defense of this station, for tactical intelligence that saved countless lives, and for actions beyond any expected protocol, the Galactic Union hereby awards the Star of Valor to Brutus, companion and partner to Dr. Daniel Reed. The Admiral pinned a small medal to Brutus's harness. The honey badger sniffed at it suspiciously, decided it was not food, and ignored it. The crew burst into applause. Not polite ceremony applause, but real cheering and whistling from a dozen different species. Brutus looked around at all the noise, clearly confused about what the fuss was about. Later, Daniel sat in his quarters with Brutus curled up on his favorite blanket. The honey badger's injuries were healing well. In another month, he would be back to his old self, terrorizing the station's ventilation systems and stealing food from the dining hall. A message appeared on Daniel's data pad. It was from the Galactic Union Science Council. They wanted to establish a new research program studying Earth animal intelligence and human-animal partnerships. They were offering Daniel a position as lead researcher, with full funding and his choice of location. What do you think? Daniel asked Brutus. Want to teach the galaxy about honey badgers? Brutus yawned, showing all his teeth, and went back to sleep. Daniel smiled and accepted the position. The galaxy had learned an important lesson from a small creature with more courage than sense. Earth animals were not simple. They were not mindless. They were partners, friends, and family members who could choose their own paths. And sometimes those choices changed everything. New crew members arrived over the following weeks. One young researcher made a comment about the dangers of keeping wild animals on a research station. Before Daniel could respond, 3 different crew members interrupted. That is not just a wild animal, said Rennick, now fully recovered and back on duty. That is Brutus, added a Quilnari engineer. He saved Section 18. That is the soldier who stopped a war, finished Commander Valen, walking past with her data pad. The new researcher looked confused, but it is just a honey badger. Daniel and Brutus exchanged a glance. The honey badger made a soft, huffing sound that might have been amusement. "Just a honey badger," Daniel repeated. "Sure, keep thinking that." Above his desk, the Star of Valor hung on the wall, catching the light from the stars beyond. The first medal ever awarded to a non-sapient being. Probably not the last, now that the galaxy understood what Earth creatures were really capable of. Brutus dozed in his corner.